Hi, Anthony. Welcome to Better Tech. Let's have your introduction first for our audience, and then we'd get right into it.
Sure, thank you. My name is Anthony Lombardo. I work at Commvault, and I run our digital marketing and technology.
Right. So, Anthony, today's topic is about data-driven marketing. How would you describe that in one sentence?
Data-driven marketing is using data to not only plan, but also guide and execute your campaigns.
Right. And what are some key benefits of it?
There are a number. I'll start with the first one, which is my favorite. It removes opinions and creates consensus. This is a big one because I'm always in meetings where there's lots of opinions, and that's great. It's great to have opinions, but sometimes that gets in the way of progress, of moving forward. So by using data, you remove that. It turns the conversation into my opinion versus your opinion, and it moves it to those are two great ideas, and we can test those and see which one works better. The second area where I think it really is a help is sharpening focus on objectives. When you're using a data-driven approach, you're forced into a planning methodology and an execution methodology that makes you think about where and what you need to focus on for your campaign and what the outcomes are. So it helps to sharpen that focus. And then in sort of the same regard, the third benefit is it improves the outcomes by design. Since you have this feedback loop of data that you're using to continue to drive the campaigns, you are always improving, or you should be constantly striving to improve. You're measuring that. And if it didn't improve, then you're making changes until you see the improvements you're looking for. Fourth, enables more creativity. And this one's a bit odd, right? Because when you think data-driven, you think it's science, it's math, it's not creative. But in fact, when you adopt a data-driven methodology, it allows you to be more creative and to be more daring with what you want to do and what you want to try, because you know that you can always use the data to course correct and to keep you on track. You're not going to waste your entire budget on an idea. You're going to spend some dollars on that idea, and if it works, great. And if it doesn't, you're quickly moving on to the next. And then the fifth and final, I'd say, is creating or increasing agility, which is really important. And the idea here is if you're using a data-driven approach, you're able to respond quicker. You're able to say, this is working or this isn't working. You're able to inject new ideas midstream and test them. And it all sort of comes together.
Right. So walk us through your steps of analyzing data in digital marketing.
Sure. The first step is always, I think, the one that everybody starts with, which is trying to create the basis for your campaign and doing the planning. Who are the right targets? Who is interested in this? Gathering as much data as you can from first-party and third-party sources. So how do I bring this together and analyze what are the right targets? What's my TAM? What can I go after? But that's just the first step. The next step turns into how do we execute the campaign with the right data points that we're testing and checking so that we can bring that constantly in and create a model that you can tune it off of. And this is where I think many may go a little bit, not wrong, but get stuck. And I know that even in my career, I've gotten stuck here a few times as you work from one model to another model of how you test and how you optimize and what you're looking for.
So that kind of feeds into my next question, which is why do you think companies struggle with data-driven marketing?
Yeah, and there's two areas here that I think are very common. The first one is analysis paralysis, which is very common. You end up seeing all of these data points and you just struggle to make sense of them. What about this point? And what about this data point? I can look at this from 10 different angles. What should I be looking for? And you just sort of stare at the data and hope that an answer pops out. The way to overcome that is to simply put a framework of measurement in place. What are the things that we're trying to do? And in nearly all cases, what you're trying to do is move someone through a funnel. So what are the points in that funnel? What are the stages that you want to be able to measure to see that your spend is actually working and doing what you wanted it to do? and how do you continue to move those through? So that first part was the analysis paralysis. And then the second part where I see this fail is the funnel that you create wasn't created with the ability to make changes to it. So let me give you an example. If the metrics in your funnel and the stages that you're measuring don't have corresponding levers that you can pull, like for example, I know that serving up ad impressions is a lever that I can pull by adding more budget. So that makes sense for me to use as a funnel stage. But if instead I said I wanted to know, let's say, the time on page, maybe time on page is a really difficult thing for me to pull into my funnel and for me to impact change on. So I can see, sure, they spent 2 minutes on page, and then I tell my web team, I need you to increase time on page. And they say, all right, well, we've got these things that we could try to increase time on page, but it just doesn't turn into a meaningful change. It's hard to do, it's hard to instrument. And that's where I see the second part, just choosing metrics and choosing stages in your funnel where you can't actually affect change. And then you end up with the wrong funnel.
Makes sense. So do you believe that can in-house marketing benefit from a data-driven approach?
Absolutely. Yes. In-house marketing for sure. Everyone can benefit from a data-driven approach. Bringing the data in is a critical part to allow you that flexibility and to be able to succeed and also report back the benefits of what you're doing. And I'd say whether it's in-house or you have an outsourced agency model, you need this to guide it. So you want the agency to be reporting based on the same thing, or internally you want to be able to report on this so that you can show that value.
And what business area is marketing automation best suited for?
Which business area? Sorry, can you define business area?
As in any function of a business where you feel that, these tools can really exponentially benefit the business.
Got it. Yes. So marketing automation helps across the business in our world. We use marketing automation for the customer side. We use it for the prospect side. So we're using it across all of our business. Anytime we're looking to get a message in front of a buyer or potential buyer. In fact, we've even used marketing automation with our partner business to try to engage them even more. So partners and resellers, big part of how you do business. So why wouldn't you want to use the same cutting edge technology that you're using to keep your customers and prospects engaged, to do that with your partners as well?
Absolutely. And if there's one thing you'd like to teach people about marketing, what would it be?
Narrowing it down to one thing is so difficult. So I think I'm going to stay really high level. And it would be, when it comes to data, make sure that what you're testing is meaningful. And this is where you really want to tap into data scientists and use sort of the discipline from a data scientist and a statistician to help you with that. I've just seen too many marketers suffer from what they believe is a really important, significant result, but there was a fundamental flaw in the design of the test. And when you end up with that data, it's giving you a false positive, and sometimes it's just confirmation bias. Actually, many times it turns into confirmation bias, where you're sort of after the fact saying, see, these numbers supported my hypothesis, versus really letting the data drive your decisions and coming up with tests that will give you very conclusive results.
Right. So lastly, Anthony, how do you see the adoption of data-driven tools and tech going in the next few years?
I think it's going to stop being a separate thing. It's going to be intertwined with everything we're doing. Marketing automation without having the data in there is going to be a thing of the past, right? The data-driven pieces need to come together. So we're starting to see this a little bit, right? With the ability of doing outbound targeting via some of the data signals that you have coming in. We're seeing machine learning being built into our marketing automation platforms and our CRM platforms. It's all starting to come together. So I think right now where it's teams are looking for technology pieces to bolt on to provide these capabilities, in the 3 to 5 year, and maybe even sooner than that, I think we'll start to see consolidation of many of those tools into the marketing automation platform and CRM systems that you're using today.
Right, definitely sounds promising. And on that note, thank you, Anthony, for joining us today on Better Tech.
Thank you.